Good afternoon and welcome to 3 o'clock with SOC. Give me a second while I welcome our Spanish-speaking neighbors. Buenas tardes. Gracias por estar con nosotros hoy día en 3 p.m. con SOC. Si quieren acceso al programa en español, por favor marquen el número 425-436-6200. Cuando le contestan la llamada, por favor compartan el clave que es 627-682. It's a good day today. I'll tell you why in just a second. My name is Tammy Rivera. I'm the Executive Director and Lead Organizer for Southside Organizing Center. Thank you for being with us this Thursday, June 18th. We have some very important information to share with you today, some celebration, some upcoming events you don't want to miss. And as always, we invite you to engage with us. We have been here for you folks from the beginning and we continue to. You can reach us in all the same ways you all have, with the exception of in person. So please know you can call us at 414-672-8090. You can email us at soc@socmilwaukee.org. And you can visit our website at www.socmilwaukee.org. We have an entire page dedicated to information, resources, and ways you can take action in response to the coronavirus. All of our staff is here for you. Today, I want to make sure I mention them again. It's been a while since I let you know. There's a whole crew of folks making this 1 hour happen. And today we have Gabe Charles, who's our Civic Engagement Manager, doing production. Marisol Diaz, our Communications Manager, is off today. She usually does production and brings us that segment of the program. And then Marlene Zaran is our Forum Coordinator. She's also our Coronavirus Coordinator. And we have Travis Holt, Maria Perea, and Clarissa Morales, our 3 organizers, available at all those access points I just shared. Drea Rodriguez, our leadership coordinator. She manages our forum comments and questions during the forum. And then we have Carlos Schmidt working with our canvassers to give you calls, see if you're doing okay, making sure you know how to fill out the census and you have the support to do that. We have Taylor Herrada and all our 9 youth working on giving you those calls as well. I hope I didn't miss anybody. If I did, remind me, folks. But we have a whole slew of staff who are faithfully here serving you. We have our infrastructure staff, Juvia Hernandez, who does our HR, and we have Edith Chavez, who does our grants and compliance. And so just want to let you know, we have a whole slew of canvassers as well, temporary canvassers who are calling you in addition to our organizers, in addition to our youth. So we're all here for you folks, wanting to help you get through this time. It's been a challenging time. I want to remind our Spanish-speaking neighbors that you can access this program while it's live via our teleconference number I shared earlier. You can also see editions of the forum in English and Spanish on our Facebook page, as well as YouTube. So you can always go back and view it if you missed it, if you want information, if you want to share it. And the Spanish versions are dubbed in Spanish, so you don't have to, call in or use some other method. You hear the program in Spanish. I want to share that we are continuing our promo this week of keeping our grandpas, our abuelos safe. And so please share in that promotion. We want you to take a pledge to comply with the CDC requirements. That is to wear a mask, keep 6 feet distance, wash your hands, and keep our elders safe. Why? Because that's the population that is most at risk. The number 1 population that's dying as a result of the COVID-19 are those folks 60 and older. So send us a picture of your grandpa, your abuelos, and take the pledge to keep them safe, you'll be entered into a $50 drawing that you can use to celebrate them or give forward to them. I want to remind you before we engage in the rest of the program that tomorrow is Juneteenth Day. I'll talk about that in a little bit, but we have Ches Ordóñez, the chair of the City of Milwaukee Equal Rights Commission, with us tomorrow, so you don't want to miss that program. All right, folks, I'm going to share a disclaimer. The views and opinions shared here in the forum aren't always those held by SOC, and that's important for us to share because we're a certain type of organization, and so we can say some things and others we can't. We can't jump into some waters. So just want to share that with you. All right, the news of the day in these challenging, dark, stressful times. You've heard me say it before, there's beauty in the battle. And so I want to bring on our special guest to share the news in case you haven't heard. Uh, this is Fernanda Jimenez. Hola, Fernanda.
Hola.
So glad to have you with us. Fernanda is from the Youth Empowered in the Struggle group of Voces de la Frontera, and I haven't told them yet, Fernanda. So I would like you to share the great news that took place today, and then we'll have a little discussion about it. ¿Está bien?
Claro que sí. Thank you for having me.
Of course. Go on and tell us what happened that we're so excited about today.
So today was a huge win. Today we found out that Supreme Court ruled against Trump's rescinding of Daca. So that means that Daca continues on, and people like me who have Daca since it was passed by Obama can continue to have their residences here, can work legally, can live safely temporarily. And it's a huge win because that is 800,000 DACA recipients who have been living in consistent fear. And today was a relief, truly a relief for everyone who has been waiting for weeks and weeks for this decision.
We're so excited along with you, Fernanda. We are strategic partners with Voices in the Struggle. Our population here on the near South Side is 70% Latino. And so we have stood in solidarity with this effort. We thank Voices, yes, and all of the movement folks who made it happen. And we are so relieved with you, excited with you, celebrating with you, and continue to ensure that the efforts for just immigration reform take place. Tell us some things that are happening at Voices around this decision. Do you have activities coming up with the Yes Group? When's the next meeting? How can young people get involved?
Of course. So, as we know, this was passed, but that doesn't mean that it's the end of this fight. We still have a lot to do. We have to pass the Clean Dream Act, a pathway to citizenship. And the only way to do that is to continue this pressure that happens. We made sure that this could go on in the Supreme Court. It's a lot more difficult now that it is taken away from ending with Trump. But now we must take pressure on making sure that this pathway to citizenship happens. Voces and Yes is consistently working on making sure that immigrant families in the community get more information on what's going on. Obviously, there's a lot of people that need to renew their DACAs, so we do allow just scholarships that people need because it can cost $500 for some, and it's not affordable. Unfortunately, not new applicants of DACA can apply, but that does mean that we have to make sure we are going to try to plan a few of rallies, press conferences for, I know, our own congressmen, our own city councils to make sure that that does continue. With the students especially, I know a lot of students in the high schools do feel that pressure being not having DACA, yet wanting to work, needing to work, but not being able to legally work because they can't apply. So as of right now, Voces and Yes are working to make sure that we can accommodate everyone's opinions because DACA does not represent all of the undocumented folks that are in this community. And that's why we need to make sure that everyone, families, students, parents, can be involved in this, so that we make sure that this isn't the end, this isn't the win. We have a lot more wins that we want and that we will do.
Well, we thank you for being with us, and we encourage folks, if you want to get involved, contact Voces de la Frontera. If you're a young person, what are the age limits for yes, Fernanda?
So we used to just have middle school and high school students be involved in yes, but we currently just made a college yes. So it only
Oh.
costs $10 if you're a college student to join a member, and that'll you'll get a free T-shirt, you'll get all the benefit for being a member in yes. And if you're a high school or younger, it's only $5.
All right, so we encourage folks to get involved. We thank you, and we're so happy for you, Fernanda, and all the rest of our neighbors, our dreamer neighbors.
Thank you so much.
Be safe.
Yes, that's right. Thank you.
Adios. So there you have it, folks. A long-awaited battle win for our neighbors and family members and loved ones who have been waiting for this decision. The Supreme Court has ruled that Daca stays. And so if you want to get involved again, contact us or contact Voces de la Frontera or Youth Empowered in the Struggle. So happy that in these hard times, there was a major victory for social justice and immigration justice. All right, folks, speaking of marking days and times, tomorrow is Juneteenth Day. And so we want to share and lift up just a couple of events. There are tons of things happening. Google it, go on Facebook. We're just going to lift up three things and let you know, this is the events that we use as a country to really celebrate emancipation. And although emancipation happened before June 19th, there was a major, event reading the federal orders of emancipation in Texas. And so, folks, mark this day um, as a major benchmark in moving for slavery to end and folks to live free. As you all know, we have a lot of work to do in this area, and we've been talking about this now for a couple of weeks, the unrest due to the continued racism in this country. And although tomorrow we celebrate the formal act or a benchmark of the formal act of emancipation, we have a lot of work to do. And so I encourage you to participate in events, to donate, to get involved, to examine your own racial biases, even if you think you don't have any, trust me, you do, and to participate in the events coming up. And so I'm just lifting up a couple, folks, there's a lot. And so first of all, we want you to know that there is an event. It's all day tomorrow, just about. It's really 10 to 6. And you can go to the Cream City Lounge, and that's located, let me just look at my notes, at 8010 West National Avenue, and participate in all kinds of activities, including a discussion panel, and purchase um, a T-shirt, and that's supported by and promoted by the African American uh, Round Table, and it's called At the Shop. So that's one activity, 10 to 6. You got a lot of leeway there. And then Alice's Garden was promoting Women's Emancipation March. The ceremony starts at 1:30, the march at 2 p.m., and they have a block party from 4 to 7 p.m. Another great event to participate. And then the last event that we're lifting up, and again, tons of other things that you can do, is the People's Movement sit-in that starts at 12 p.m. At 3300 North MLK. There's going to be food, vendors, music. It's a free event. There's all kinds of ways you can get involved, but please do, especially at these times when we're really lifting up all the work that remains to be done in terms of racial justice and the unrest due to that fact, and police brutality. With that being said, we want to share again our solidarity with the protesters and the families of those who have suffered injustice at the hands of our law enforcement, and that our thoughts and prayers continue to be with you all also, who have been impacted by C-19, from those kids who are home and felt the loss of not going to school, to our small business community being impacted, to all of you who are already isolated and in need, and to those families who have experienced the COVID illness, and especially those who have lost a loved one as a result. In other follow up to the times that we're living, as you know, we've been battling around getting the Collaborative Community Committee recognized and moving forward. And so we did share with you that President of the Common Council, Chevy Johnson, was here, and he committed to reaffirming that group. And then the Common Council passed appointments recently. So just going to show a little visual so you can see that SOC received its formal appointment letter just today. And basically it talks about the work that we did initially, the report that we gave to the Fire and Police Commission. And then on the next page, I want to be able to share who are the members. How about another page, Gabe? The members who are sitting on this committee. And so one more. Yeah, here we go. So President of the Common Council gets to appoint 3 members, and we shared that he had appointed 2 of the, or he appointed 2 of the people we recommended. Nate Hamilton, the brother of John Trey Hamilton, as one of his appointees. And then he also appointed Dr. Deborah Blanks, who was one of the primary researchers who worked with us on our initial report. The mayor gets an appointee, and I believe that is Jamal Smith, who was formerly on the CCC and now works with the Office of Violence Prevention. Fred Royal from the NAACP, who was a vice chair in our first iteration. The African American Roundtable will assign a designee. You may have heard me say earlier, Marquesa Tucker, the executive director, was the chair of our CCC committee. And then there'll be a plaintiff from Collins et al. That was the ACLU law settlement with the city. And I believe that they have to confirm this list as well, if I remember right. Myself, representative from Voces de la Frontera, a representative or the executive director or representative from the LGBTQ community, the president or a designee of Independence First, the president of Pathfinders or a designee, the director of, now I can't see very well, Asha. And then the director of the Milwaukee Islamic Center, the Hmong American Women Association, and then the academic appointment, and that is Dr. Deborah Blanks. And if you all heard her a little bit ago when she was here giving us the historical and contextual analysis of the report that we did. So there you have it, folks. Sign, seal, deliver. Here we are, appointed and moving forward. There is a meeting with the Fire and Police Commission on Tuesday, June 23rd, where we're going to continue our work with them. So thank you, everyone, for the support. We're moving forward. We're still working to see what happens with the Mayor's Commission versus this CCC, and we'll keep you up to date with that. All right, folks, I want to now move on to our next segment, which is our coronavirus update, and invite our coordinator on, which is Marlene Zoran. Hola, Marlene.
Hi, Ola. How are you?
Very good.
I'd like to reintroduce that this is a mental health week for this week. A previous guest that we've had on the forum this past week include Mandy Degner from Walker's Point Community Clinic, Samantha Sanchez from Coral Centro, and Gabriela Dieguez from 16th Street Clinic. So 16th Street Clinic has 2 locations on the south side. The Chavez Clinic, which is on 1032 South Cesar E. Chavez Drive, and the Parkway Clinic on 2906 South 20th Street. The 16th Street Clinic phone number is 414-672-1353. And we will have all other resources in the message section as well. So I'd like to give an announcement that, in solidarity with Juneteenth as an official holiday, the National Guard will close UMOS and the Custer Stadium testing centers for COVID-19. They'll resume testing from June 20th, 11 a.m. to 5 p.m., but the National Guard decided to do this in solidarity with this new holiday. So today we were supposed to have Claire Evers come on with us today, the Deputy Commissioner of the Environmental Health for the Milwaukee Health Department, but unfortunately she was having some internet connections while she was traveling, and she can't join us today, but we will continue on to another announcement that I have for you today. It's called So $80 million in COVID-19 financial assistance will be given to K-12 schools and higher education institutes. And this announcement was given out today by Governor Tony Evers. And it states that this emergency education relief fund is established under the Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Security, or the CARES Act, and it will prioritize students and districts that have the highest remote learning needs and have been affected the most significantly by COVID-19. So that's good news, and lots of good news happening with Daca and everything. But that concludes my segment for today. Thank you.
On a tremendous job of getting us addressing this issue and bringing subject matter experts on and launching Mental Health Awareness Week related to COVID, and we appreciate you for that. And we certainly understand when we have subject matter experts who are scheduled to be on, and just a slew of things happen. So Claire will be back. She's been on with us a couple of times. She's been a great subject matter expert, and we'll reschedule her and bring her back. All right, with that, I'd like to bring on our Civic Engagement Manager, Gabe Charles, who's doing double duty, folks. She is producing the program and she's on today. So we so appreciate her and her abilities to do that. I would not be able to do that. So I so appreciate you, Gabe.
Thank you. I appreciate it. But I think we all have to multitask in this line of work. So it's just one way we do that, right?
Mm-hmm.
But yes, I have a lot of updates for everybody. So like was already said, at a national level, we have some important rulings that came out this week. The first being a ruling that protects employees from being fired for their sexual orientation or gender expression. And then the second, what Fernanda already talked about at the beginning, was that the Supreme Court decided to, or ruled to, uphold the Daca program. And we know this is something that deeply affects many of our residents. And especially since we're talking about mental health, I can only imagine the anxiety that folks have been feeling surrounding this decision. So we're hoping that this decision has alleviated some of those stresses and anxieties for folks, and definitely sending a lot of love to everybody. At the local level, there was a lot that was discussed at the Common Council meeting this week. But I will try to just focus on the major resolutions that were passed. So the first one I'll talk about is the resolution that asked the budget director to prepare a model MPD budget that reflects a 10% reduction in their budget. So I do want to spend just a little bit of extra time on this one, because the resolution text presents a number of reasons why this is something the Common Council is asking of the budget director. And to be clear, it's not an immediate 10% reduction. It's just asking for what that would look like if 10% was reduced from the MPD budget. So I'll share some of the reasons that were written in this legislation text. Some of the reasons being that the MPD budget takes up about 45%, almost half of the general city budget as a whole. But departments like the Department of Public Works only gets 18%, and the Milwaukee Health Department, that's in charge of all of public health, only receives 2% of the whole city of Milwaukee budget. So combined, these two departments don't even make up what the MPD gets for their budget. So this is one of the reasons why this is something they want to explore. Then just continuing on with that idea of the MPD having half of the budget, if this continues to grow, if the cost of the Milwaukee Police Department continues to grow, it could possibly starve other equally worthy city services of necessary resources. So continuing to raise the cost of the MPD could take away from departments like the Milwaukee Health Department or the Department of Public Works. And then also recent events, another reason given in the text, recent events have not only caused many to call for defunding the police, but also caused many people to ask if there is too much asked of police officers, and whether or not smaller interpersonal matters are better addressed by community groups and by those trained in conflict resolution and peace building. So we had someone from 414 Life on, that they have had successful interventions in preventing violence. And so places like this, community groups such as that, maybe they might be better equipped for smaller interpersonal matters instead of police officers. Again, this is all coming from the text of the legislation. And then also there have been local and nationwide calls for reallocation of resources to services and agencies that work to address racism, poverty, joblessness, mental illness, and other underlying causes of criminal behavior. So again, this is just an exploration of what the money saved from a 10% reduction in the MPD budget, what that money saved could be reinvested into. And again, this resolution passing is not an immediate cut of 10%. It's just an exploration of what that would look like. And they also laid out what they would use that savings for. And one of the entities being the Milwaukee Health Department, to fund community-based health programs and services. Like I mentioned, the Blueprint for Peace, 414 Life, trauma-informed care, among others. Also to help fund the CCC that we talked about already in the program today and have been talking about, which could then use those resources to select and fund community-based organizations that could enhance community and police relations. Then we have, they also mentioned the Housing Trust to further the creation of affordable housing, including new housing cooperatives, rehabilitation, and home ownership. Then finally, the Fire and Police Commission to fund training and to hire additional investigators and to ensure adequate external monitoring. And then, of course, other purposes may come up as collaborative discussion happens with the community. So, of course, this will be an open conversation, and the alder people always ask for the input of their constituents. So definitely reach out to your alder people with your thoughts on this. Something else major that came out of the Common Council meeting is that a motion was approved to hold off approving mayoral appointments. So any appointments of director and commissioner positions are going to be referred back to their corresponding committees. And this was done because many alder people want to ensure that those who are appointed to these positions of incredible leadership in the city are committed to moving Milwaukee forward, and especially to advancing racial equity. And this way, sending these possible appointings of these director and commissioner positions, then the committees can hear what those who are suggested for appointment have planned or what their commitment is to moving Milwaukee forward and transforming Milwaukee. Mayor Barrett issued the following statement on the council's actions, saying that every individual I have nominated is committed to equity and racial justice throughout our city. We are eager to share with the council members the work we have been doing and how we can work together to transform the city. So we will definitely be tuned into the statements made by these possible appointees for these different positions and look forward to seeing what their plan is for addressing the systemic racism in the city. And one of the appointments that would have been made or approved at the Common Council meeting yesterday was the executive director of the Milwaukee Election Commission. So the Milwaukee Election Commission will be affected by this, especially because we mentioned that the current executive director, Neil Albrecht, will be retiring. And then also on Friday, the deputy director, Teresa Gabriel, also resigned unexpectedly. So this could possibly leave the leadership of the Milwaukee Election Commission vacant if a new executive director is not appointed. So there will be a special meeting held to hear from Claire Woodall-Vaugh, who is the appointee from Mayor Barrett, to see what her plan is for moving forward, and then hopefully move forward with the appointing process for the executive director of the Milwaukee Election Commission. Because as you remember, the Safe Vote program that also passed at the, so many things happened. The Safe Vote program passed, but that is being done in collaboration with the Milwaukee Election Commission. So very important that this position gets appointed so that they can move forward with sending out all of that voting information packet to residents of the city. But again, they committed to having special meetings to move this appointment process forward. Another resolution that passed was one that urges the Fire and Police Commission to adopt a policy addressing any "I can't breathe" plea by an individual who is in police custody. So this policy would call for an immediate response when someone in custody is voicing a struggle to breathe and would require a repositioning of that person. And just to be clear, the policy would not mean that the officer would release someone from custody, but just to be checking in if they are saying that they can't breathe. So again, the Common Council is not who determine policies and procedures of MPD, that is the Fire and Police Commission. So that's why this resolution urges the Fire and Police Commission to implement a policy like that. A resolution was also passed that approved grant funding for the MPD Beat Patrol program. And this is a grant that provides up to $150,000 to 10 cities with populations over 25,000 people that had the highest violent crime rates in 2011. So this is a continuing grant that Milwaukee has already had since 2011. And it funds a portion of 2 police officer positions who are on beat patrol, which is typically officers on foot or bike. And although no change in the grant was expected, no changing in grant activities or what it would be going to, nothing was expected to change. It is interesting that there was no more discussion about it given the current climate and given that they are calling for a 10% police budget reduction exploration. But that is something else that passed. I think this is the last one. Thank you for bearing with me. This is a lot of really important information that came out of this meeting. Finally, there was a resolution that expresses the Common Council support for Wisconsin 2019 Assembly Bill 1012, which aims to set tighter restrictions or regulations when it comes to law enforcement using force. So this would require law enforcement agencies to have publicly available policies on the use of force that would incorporate things like the primary duty of all law enforcement to preserve life, to only allow deadly force if as a last resort, and that officers should use tactics that minimize the likelihood that force would become necessary. And again, this is a state level bill, so Common Council is expressing its support for this bill and hoping that it will move it along in its process on the state level. And then for those that are tuned into the school board and what's going on with MPS, there was actually a rally yesterday in support of a resolution that will be discussed this afternoon at the school board meeting, which calls for MPS to terminate all contracts with the Milwaukee Police Department. And it would also end the buying and maintaining of criminalizing equipment such as metal detectors and facial recognition software and social media monitoring software. So these funds could be up to $500,000 just from the police contracts alone, and that could be invested into things such as restorative practices and violence-free zone programming and mentors. So we will be following what happens in that school board meeting tonight and report out anything that comes of it. Again, I know this was a lot of information, so I thank you for bearing with me, and we'll of course be following up with all of this as well, especially with the model budget of a 10% reduction with MPD. That has to happen within 30 days. So that could be very soon that we see what that might look like and how it could be implemented. So we will keep everyone posted with that. And I am going to share a new census video with everybody that even includes a song. So I hope you can all enjoy it and get a little smile out of this. I know we're in really difficult times, but especially with such good news about Daca, we wanna celebrate, and we're gonna share with you a fun video for the census and a reminder to be encouraging your friends and family to be filling out the census. So here it is.
Larry, it's that time of the decade.
Time to wash my socks?
No, it's time to...
All right, census time. How many of you are there?
How many of us too?
Yeah, how many of you too?
Well, there are...
Wait, what's a census?
Once every 10 years, we count every person in every home in every town in the whole country.
What about kids? Do we count kids?
Well, sure, we can...
Actually, kids and babies are the most important of all. The census helps us know where we need schools.
How do we do it? How do we get counted?
Complete the census by phone or in a few minutes by going online.
Or mail in the form if you don't like technology.
Still not online?
My typewriter won't hook to the internet. It's easy, safe, and private.
Wow, I want to be counted. I'm gonna go fill out the census now.
Wait, how often did you say you wash your socks?
Make your family
Make everyone in your home count. Oh, make your family... This year, make sure every child counts. Visit 2020census.gov.
And now, let's sing a song about it.
What? Go!
The census counts people.
In homes big and small.
You count if you're tiny.
You count if you're tall. Because everyone counts in the US of A. Everyone counts in their own special way. The census counts everywhere. Count all who live with you. Sisters, uncles, grandmas, and your newborn babies too.
Cause everyone counts in the US of A. Everyone counts in their own special way. We count all your neighbors and we count all your friends. Until we count you, the counting won't end. Cause everyone counts in the US of A. Everyone counts in their own special way.
Counting is easy. Counting is fun.
Everyone counts, and you count as one. Cause everyone counts in the US of A. Everyone counts in their own special way.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Everyone counts in the US of A. Everyone counts in their own special way.
Everyone counts in their own special way.
Thank you, Gabe. It's really important to keep track of what's happening at all the different levels of government. It's such a big part of our civic engagement. We've been trained to think the only important day is election day, but that is so not true. It is a critical day. But civic engagement is a year-round process of watching the budget, watching these committees, watching what your elected officials that you elected do, so that you can hold them accountable and stay clear about what's happening, and that you can chime in, because your voice doesn't only count on election day. It's a lot of information, but we're so grateful that you keep us up to date, Dave. Thank you very much. Listen, folks, I think I'm gonna save for tomorrow something I wanted to share with you all. I did some number crunching with that 10% suggested reduction in MPD to invest in other preventative and intervention services around safety. And I will share that with you maybe tomorrow or next week. But I had to be on a town hall yesterday, so I did some number crunching, because I think we should problem solve, or I know we should problem solve holistically, looking at every angle. So look forward to that. I'm going to tell you what that 10% could look like in terms of the budget to MPD, their response about staff, and give you another angle to look at what's happening in regards to law enforcement reform. We need to continue to look at all areas of life. Today we covered immigration policy that we're so excited about, and the coronavirus and civic engagement. And so we can't forget about another area in our community, which is public resources. So we're going to invite Gladys to come on with me, and we're going to talk about some updates you all want to know in terms of public resources, because there's a lot of information and changes happening around there. Hola, Gladys.
Hello, how are you?
Good. Listen, remind us again about the Thursday group briefly, and then share with us whatever updates from that group or other public resources announcements that have happened in the last week.
Sure. On Thursdays, since the beginning of the Safer at Home order, we have met with a group of individuals regarding housing, such as community advocates, the City of Milwaukee, DNS, a few banks that also have concerns with what is going on with having residents be financially okay to be able to continue paying their mortgage or rent. And so with that group, we share a lot of information regarding funding that could be available to help landlords and also tenants. And not only with help with rent, also with help with energy assistance, because there's still a moratorium for the energy assistance because of the COVID-19, but there is no longer a moratorium on evictions. So the eviction courts are being slammed right now with persons that were unable to pay rent because of COVID.
All right. So if people need help with any of those issues around housing, who should they call, Gladys?
Community advocates, and we'll have that number listed and their web information listed. There it is. And also SDC. They both have the funding that came in through the state of Wisconsin. Governor Evers appointed $6.7 million to assist Milwaukee County, specifically Milwaukee County. And then last week, our county executive, David Crowley, announced another $10 million, and it's from a different pot of money. So there is money, but there is also, with this amount of money, there's also a lot of crisis. A lot of the residents are calling SDC and community advocates. My connection at Community Advocates said that they received over 17,000 calls for assistance. They are getting to them, and funds have already started to be dispersed to these landlords to keep the client from being evicted.
And folks can call no matter what language they speak. Am I correct? And
that is correct.
Great. Gladys, we have there was some other updates about parking charges and changes. Do you remember what those were?
Sure.
That you could share?
Yes, effective this past Monday, June 15th, the City of Milwaukee, any metered parking or parking signs that have parking limits on them, they will start to issue citations for those, which means you park at a meter, plug the meter, because they can't come through if it is expired. If you're parked on a 2-hour parking, make sure you move your vehicle. They will cite you. Those things are no longer covered under the crisis of COVID-19.
So folks, pay attention. Things are changing. Things are opening up again. And so some of those things that our local government put in place to help folks are starting to fade away, and we're getting back to normal. So please do pay attention to that. And if you have a need and you don't feel comfortable contacting community advocates, you can call SOC, and you can ask for Claudia as well. Let me see, Claudia, if we have any questions, we'll say some hellos and see if we have any questions. Let's see here. I'm so sorry that you folks who are trying to access the program in Spanish, that we're having difficulties. I'm going to say that in Spanish. Lo siento mucho a ustedes que están tratando de accesar la traducción y no está trabajando bien. Vamos a ver si arreglamos ese problema ya para mañana. Vamos a investigar. Clarisa también, que está conmigo en pantalla, es la coordinadora de esos servicios bilingües, y vamos a ver lo que hacemos para que no sea, para que ustedes tengan acceso a mañana.
Y
So,
también
perdónanos.
ahorita, pueden mirar para ver la programa en traducción en español.
Oh, sí, se hace una copia y va a estar disponible en la página de Facebook y en YouTube. So I was just sharing with folks, we're having difficulties. Clarissa is our bilingual services coordinator. We're having difficulties with our Spanish interpretation, and then we're encouraging folks, they can listen to the program on our Facebook and on YouTube. Hola, Maricano. Hola, Mariani. Gracias por compartir el problema. I was just saying hello and thanking Marianne, because she let us know that we were having problems with the interpretation. Thank you, Claudia. We look forward to an update next week.
Sure. Can I just give one more? I just got one more. SOC, I did complete a resource sheet for these services, and I will have them uploaded onto the SOC's page. I will get that coordinated so that those services will be available, and also on SOC's webpage.
Thank you. We appreciate you, Claudia.
Have a good day. Thank you.
Okie dokie.
Bye.
Folks, I want to remind you that we still want you to fill out our regular survey daily. We don't have a gift card for that right now because we're investing in the Keep Your Abuelos Safe promo. But please do fill it out. It only takes a couple of minutes. It's only a couple of questions. It tells us if the information that we're sharing is useful. It asks you what's going well, what we can do differently. And if you appreciate us in any way or this program, please fill it out. We need to have a certain number of those filled out to show our funders that we're getting feedback from you. And so if you want our programming to continue, we need to have those surveys. And so please do invest those couple of minutes. The other thing I want to remind you about is we still have our One Clean Community promo happening. The details, thank you, Andrea, are in our comments. And so during this COVID, we are having a community cleanup still, which are a longstanding tradition. And so we're asking you all to cooperate with the coronavirus safety guidelines still. But while you're out walking as an individual or a family, we have a bag, or you can use your own, and walk around, clean one block, and use one bag, and that'll keep our community clean. Our goal was 100, and when you complete and you send us a picture that you did it, you get certificates for passes to Milwaukee's attractions because of our partnership with Keeping Greater Milwaukee Clean. And so please do that. It's a way that you can take the time out in the air to keep our community clean, which keeps our community also safe. You can contact us at all those numbers, all those ways I shared earlier, and you can even get a packet dropped off to do a cleanup if you don't have supplies. We give a mask and gloves and a bag and some flyers of information. So please do cooperate with that. I'd like to invite now our video from Marisol, our communications manager, to remind you again about our Keeping Our Abuelos Safe pledge.
We want to bring awareness to the topic of Latinx elderly individuals having higher risks of death rates due to coronavirus. This week for our Father's Day promotion, send us or post a picture here of your grandpa and pledge to keep grandpa safe to protect our elderly community from COVID-19. All pictures will be entered into a $50 gift card drawing. Share your photos by this Thursday, June 18th.
And again, the pledge is you're going to keep them safe by wearing a mask, keeping social distance, and washing your hands. And so the picture should reflect that you're doing those things you pledge, okay? And those who complete that task will be entered in to the drawing to get the gift card. I want to remind you, you want to be with us tomorrow, Juneteenth Day. And we have a special guest, Ches Ordóñez, the chair of the City of Milwaukee Equal Rights Commission. And we want to remind you there are all kinds of activities taking place all week to celebrate Juneteenth Day and tomorrow as well. And last but not least, we celebrate Que Si Se Pudo. Daca remains in place, and we stand in solidarity with those Daca recipients and their families, and we continue the struggle for a just immigration reform. Please be safe, and we want to leave you with thank yous for those partners who support us with funding.
Thank you to our sponsor, Wisconsin Boys, Community Development Block Grant, Neo Philanthropy State Infrastructure Fund, Mudman Board Project, Catholic Campaign for Human Development, Silver Foundation, City of Milwaukee Office of Violence Prevention, Ties Foundation, City of Milwaukee Promised Son, all the faithful individuals who support SAC through the personal donation. Thank you, thank you, thank you.